WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.
Hello. Welcome to Real Family Talk. This is your host, Jay Real. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday evening. It's another beautiful day in the city, beautiful Orlando. They messing with me in the booth over there, but that's all right. Man, we want to thank you for tuning in to the show tonight. We got another great show for you. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the economy. I'll be remiss if I didn't mention football. The NFL starts tomorrow. I am so excited. And then, of course, the rest of the games are on Sunday. And then there's Monday. I'm excited. The Steelers are back, Mr. King. They're going to be 1-0 by the time Sunday closes out. Start the season with Cleveland. We're going to be 1-0, brother.
Didn't they? What would they start out last year?
Oh, I'm not talking about where they're going to end, brother. I'm not saying we're going to be a Super Bowl team this year, but
didn't they start out
celebrating the season,
0-3 last year?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
What's up with them Cowboys? Cowboy fans call in.
What's up with them?
I don't know. It's a lot of them.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why is it so many Cowboy fans?
Because there's America's team, brother.
Yeah, they were the only one on TV back in the day.
I think so.
By default.
On TV the most or something, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, football season starting. Let me go ahead and welcome my panelists here. I got Jeremy's in the building. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good. How you doing out there?
Mr. King is in the building. Mr. King, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. All the Mike Vick fans.
The Mike Vick fans?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not starting, but we still fans.
Okay. Oh, I'm a fan too. I'm just asking. I'm just trying to figure out where that come from. That's all.
Well, it's football season, brother. We happy.
Exactly.
Because it's football season.
Because it's
Didn't you just hear what the brother said?
Yeah,
season.
I heard. Football season. Yeah.
I'm not even talking about what, we'll see what the teams do.
Who cares?
Let's see what the teams do. I'm just glad football
It's football.
Back.
Hit somebody. Thank you.
College football back. It was good.
College football back too. They started last weekend.
Good weekend.
FSU won. I was kind of worried. I was watching, kind of paying attention to the game online, and it seemed like did Winston? I think he got one touchdown throw, right? By the end of the game, he got one touchdown throw, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think he only threw for one.
He threw for one, and then he had 2 interceptions or something like that. That's what I saw. I know going into the third quarter, he only had 2 interceptions, no thrown touchdowns. I think he might have had a running touchdown or something.
Yeah, he did have a rushing touchdown.
But I was like, man, this guy is not living up to the bill.
He is living up to the bill.
This is not
did we get the W?
Heisman quarterback.
That's all that matters.
Did we get the W?
That's all that matters.
I'm surprised I didn't see Twitter.
Did we get the W?
He doesn't have to take over the game. As long as they get the W, that's all that matters.
Okay.
That's all that matters.
Maybe he was too busy eating crabs on the sideline.
Well, whatever he was doing, maybe it worked.
I hope he dipped in some vinegar and hot sauce.
Exactly.
Because
they won. That's all that matters. W's matter, brother. We're not. It's a team game. It's not an individual sport.
You are correct.
I won the Heisman, but the whole team gets the trophy.
That's right. And he always credit his teammates.
Yes.
He never say I.
No, he does not say I will give him that. He knows how to have a great speech.
No, it's about no great speech. You got to watch him. It's a reason he won. He's a leader. He's a natural leader.
Okay. Is he coming out this year?
He said he's going to stay. He said last year he was staying. He was going to stay another year.
Oh,
after this year, yeah.
Did he? Oh, okay.
He said he was going to. I guess he was going to graduate.
Because he was a redshirt freshman. Is that correct? Or
yeah.
No?
This is his last year. He has to play.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see. FSU shooting for the preferably an undefeated season so they can make it to the championship. So we'll see how that goes. What do you think about the playoff system that they're doing this year? Excited about that?
It don't matter what system. As long as FSU come out on top, they can roll the dice and play numbers or something. I don't know. As long as FSU come out on top, that's all I care about.
The only thing I think is going to be weird is there's a panel that's choosing the 4 teams that get to compete in the playoff. That to me seems really shady, but
it's what. But
I think it's shady. But
well,
this
is the thing. I would say this: I'd rather people do it than a computer, because what the people can always go in and say, okay, they lost, but they lost by 1 point on a fluke play. So I can't say I'm going to take them, say they're not one of the best 4 teams because they lost by 1 point because somebody threw the ball up in the air and it got tapped 5 times. You know what I'm saying? So that way they don't necessarily, because a computer is it's just an L.
Uh-huh.
But if you get a group of people, they're going to say, well, we can't take that away from them when they lost on a Hail Mary and 5 people touched the ball, you know?
Right.
So I'd rather be in the hands of a group of people.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, man.
I don't know if I can agree with that one, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it goes. Trial run.
Yeah,
let's see how it works.
See how it works.
Or there's one sport can say it's 4 now, but over time it's going to expand. It's going to expand.
They only have 4 on the panel?
No.
There's only going to be 4 teams in the playoffs.
Over time, give it about 3-4 years, it's going to expand.
How many people on the panel?
I can't remember.
It seems like the number's at least 5 or 6 or something like that.
It's like 3 or 4 ADs. I know Condoleezza Rice is on it. Archer Manning's on it. Tom Osborne, Barry Alvarez, and there's a couple other presidents. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple other people on there too. So we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to be taking a quick break here, and we'll be right back.
Hands up! LA, scream! Hands in the air! Let's go! Hey! He's a breaker, breaker. Let the world know you celebrate. He's a breaker, breaker. Hands in the air, you celebrate. He's a breaker, breaker. Let the world know you celebrate. Hands up, he's a breaker, breaker. Hands in the air, say it. All through the day and through the night. There are angels watching over my life. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm not afraid. Arrows by day of the terrors that may come through the night. We all can say we are victory. Everybody put your hands up. He's a breaker.
All right. We're back after a little quick break.
I like that song, too.
That is a great song. That's a great song.
It wakes you up. If you wasn't awake then, you awake now. I like to say shout out to Chris for keeping it bumping before we get to.
Definitely.
Yes,
man.
sir. Chris Shaw most definitely holds it down.
Definitely.
Most definitely holds it down.
Should see him up here dancing in the studio.
He be grooving, don't he? Man.
He has a great time when he's up in the studio finishing out, playing some music just before we come on, man. So, like we were saying, we were talking a little bit about football. We're talking about college football. We were talking about what was happening with the playoff system that's going to be happening come the end of the season. Of course, more important to me is the NFL, which is going to be starting tomorrow night. First game, Seattle and Green Bay. Yeah, it should be interesting. Seattle, of course, won the Super Bowl last year playing Green Bay. They got Aaron Rodgers, the defense, and the Packers isn't all that great. But nonetheless, football is back. Should be a decent game. More importantly for me, 1 o'clock Sunday, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns. Yes.
We're
going to get the W, bro. That's all I
who's the
care
starting
about.
quarterback for Cleveland?
Brian Hoyer is the starting
Brian
quarterback.
Hoyer is starting.
So they actually let Brian start. So you know what? Y'all just might win. You're right about that.
We were going to win regardless, sir.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that one either.
I don't know about that.
Sir, Johnny Football is not quite ready for the Steelers defense, my friend.
That would have been interesting
The
to see.
Steelers defense, you saying that like it's
He's
the
not quite
70s
ready.
or like it's 2007 or something.
It's the Steelers.
Y'all best defensive player just retired.
No, wait a minute. He wasn't even playing on. He wasn't playing for us last year, James Harrison. I'm sure that's what you're talking about.
I know. That's my point.
And what was y'all
That's
record
my
last
point.
year?
That's my
Honestly,
point.
I don't remember the exact record last
That's
year.
the point.
We didn't make
That's
the playoffs, so that's
point.
really all that matters.
That's the
That
point. Your
is
best
the
defensive
point.
player just retired.
As soon as y'all got rid of Max Starks, y'all team went down.
Actually, ever since Harrison left, the defense haven't been the same.
Yeah, we'll be all right, sir.
And
We'll
I've
be all
been
right.
watching Palamahu. I don't know. He might need to cut that hair. That hair weighing him
know.
down. Now
It might.
before it was a weapon. Now it's
It's just in the
it's
way.
a weakness. Yeah,
It's in the way.
It's in the
It
way.
might
now.
be. He's got.
It's weighing him down. He
He's
need to
got some
fade.
long flowing locks. I guess.
He need to fade now.
We'll see. We'll see though. The season is just gonna start.
His
on
legs getting
Sunday,
old. He need
bro.
to fade. He need to let
Season
the
starts
extra
on
weight go.
Sunday.
He can
We'll
get all the
see.
weight off him he can.
I'm
We'll see.
eager to see what Sherman's going to do. My new favorite player in the NFL.
Richard Sherman.
Yeah, I got to see what he's going to do.
Okay.
I'm very eager to see what this brother does because he actually represents African Americans the way that I feel we should be represented. We be up in your face, but then we show up on game time, and then it's kind of like, that's just how we are. We don't mean nothing by it. I love that about that brother. So if you don't know anything about football, look out for Richard Sherman.
He'll be playing tomorrow night.
Is he playing tomorrow night?
He will be playing tomorrow.
Yeah, he's playing tomorrow night. Of course, he's starting. He's the best cornerback in the game right now.
That's debatable, but
Let him tell it.
he's definitely up there. He's definitely up there.
He got a ring.
I can't take nothing away from him. He's
Because he got a
definitely up
ring. There's a lot of people who you would debate and say they may be better, but do they have a ring? That is the question. And that's the whole thing about it. Who would you name that's better that has a ring? That's playing today?
there. That's playing today and has a ring.
Nan. Okay, he took too long. So that's my whole point right there. That's why I'm trying to say that brother is the best one
Yeah,
at
I
his
give him that.
position.
I would say this though, as everybody have to understand, he also playing with the two best safeties in the world in the league as well.
Is that his fault?
No, that's not his fault.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a good thing.
That's like saying, well, the Patriots
I
got the
know.
best this and the best that and
But
the
no,
best
the
that.
Patriots ain't got the best nothing, except maybe the best quarterback.
The second best quarterback.
That's debatable.
Peyton Manning is way better than this man.
Way better
Hey,
than who?
but again, you want to talk about rings? So if we go talk about rings, we gotta always talk about rings.
Not when it comes to Peyton
we
Manning.
can't not. If anything, you want to talk about rings about, you could talk about more about quarterbacks with rings than anything else.
What?
More so, you can talk about DBs.
Well, see, you got to understand when it comes to that, you got to look at the system also. See, in the system that your boy Brady is in is much better than the system that Peyton Manning has ever been in, except in college. Other than that,
I don't agree with that.
Brady's system, man, come on now. Everybody can say that the Patriots has the best system that's working in the game right now.
Well, they have a great system.
That's
I don't
debatable because
know.
they don't always even put up the most numbers.
Because they don't.
I don't think it's the.
I think you see Peyton runs his own system. That's the thing you got to understand. Peyton does what he wants to do.
Okay,
He calls all his own plays.
you're right.
He does whatever adjustment he wants to make. He can make that.
Because he's not in a system that does that for him.
No, that's his system. He doing it. That's what Peyton Manning is a control freak.
No.
That's his system is. I do all this study and I do all this background work. I know what I need to do, so let me do it. That's his system.
Same thing with Brady, but Brady is under somebody else who is more of a control freak than him.
Right. I wouldn't disagree with you that. I wouldn't disagree with you there. But again, Peyton Manning has actually probably has a lot more freedom than Tom Brady does.
Of course, because of the system that he's in. But I mean, like you say, if you want to talk about rings, you got to give it to Tom. But if you want to talk about controlling the entire game, as far as that position is played, man, don't nobody do it like the sheriff. Nobody.
I don't disagree.
I
with
mean,
you
this
there.
man
I
has
don't disagree with you.
patented Omaha. People forgot Omaha was in America until Peyton Manning started saying Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. Now they got a song called Omaha.
They might have had that song at Nebraska already, but
I'm not for sure, but it's all about. I'm eager to see what the Broncos are going to do. They made a lot of good pickups this year. I'm just so hurt, that Peyton is he's 50-50 in the championship now.
no, he's below that.
Oh, he's below
Well,
that?
he's
I think
one
he's
for
below
one
that.
for 3 now at the league.
Oh, he's one. Yeah.
That's all right. Peyton Manning is the regular season king. So we'll see.
Yeah,
how
which means
we'll see
not.
how he does. He should have a great regular season.
As always.
As always.
As always.
As always. I'm hoping Tom Brady does well because Tom Brady's on my fantasy team. He's my starting quarterback, so I'm hoping he has a good team.
He gonna do
too.
well regardless.
Yeah, I mean, he's in that system.
I go out there and play receiver with him. I get me 50 catches.
We'll see, brother. We'll see.
Not at receiver.
We'll
Yes,
see.
I will.
Nah, I think maybe at the slot you'll definitely get 50
That's
catches.
a receiver, man.
Well, I'm thinking outside. I'm sorry about that. I forgot. I played soccer. Sorry.
You did? What
Yeah.
position?
I was
Quick,
in seventh
quick,
grade.
Quick. Okay.
I was goalie.
It was
There you go. Only position we know, goalie.
Oh man. We're gonna joining us in a few minutes here. We're gonna have Dr. Nathaniel Johnson gonna be joining us. We're gonna talk a little bit about what's happening with our economy with Dr. Nathaniel Johnson. He is a economic professor at the great FAMU, Florida A&M University. So he'll be joining us soon here. We'll kind of keep talking a little bit. Any other things happening, exciting you about the new NFL season while we wait for Dr. Johnson to get on the phone here, sir? Not really? You're good?
No.
I'm good. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. As long as I can see the Steelers play on Sunday, I'm good. That's all I care about is my precious Steelers. Man.
Are there any other Steeler fans in Orlando? Please call in and back him up, because the way we're looking at him right now, talking about these Steelers, and we got some Dolphin fans, we got some Bucks fans, they even about 4 or 5 Jaguar fans. But the Steelers?
Yeah, man, Steelers. So Dr. Johnson is on the phone. How you doing tonight, Dr. Johnson?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
So we called to talk to you about the economy. One of the first things we wanted to get into is to talk about the unemployment in the country right now. Now, we were talking earlier, and you were giving me some thoughts about that. Why don't you kind of pick up that discussion that you were having me with today?
Well, if you recall what we talked about, we said the unemployment rate, as you know, across the U.S., on average is about 6.3%. And as you know, in the state of Florida, it's about 6.2%. Now, when you look at the black unemployment rate, it's roughly twice whatever the unemployment rate is for the nation.
Right.
That's one of the major problems that we have. In fact, if you take out the black unemployment rate, the unemployment rate across the country will probably be somewhere around 5%. Okay. Now, that is significant because we consider full employment and a full employment economy to be at about 5%. That is, the economy is in full employment and it's as healthy as it's going to be. So I'm not suggesting it's black people's fault by no means. What I am saying is that if we really want to improve the economy, the best thing we can do is to find that unemployment rate, because as you know, like baseball, the margin always pulls the average up. If you take that one out, you would find that the entire economy would improve. So the key to improving the economy is not so much to find out what the white unemployment rate or the majority unemployment rate is, but to simply reduce the black unemployment rate.
Gotcha. So if we fix that problem, we can bring the rest of it down. Now what do you propose to try and fix the black unemployment rate? Is there anything that can be done from a government perspective, or anything we can do as individuals? What do you think the problem is?
Well, I think it's two-pronged, I think. I think the government does have a role, but in a different way than it actually does it today. For example, suppose, if you remember back in 1938, they had something called the National Industrial Recovery Act. When the country came out of the Great Depression, the government actually used and went into debt to actually get the economy going forward. Okay?
Okay.
And so what it did was it actually created public jobs. Mostly those jobs went to non-black people, and they benefited, and it began to expand the U.S. economy, eventually moving it out of the doldrum. Well, the one thing we can do is not so much use government in the same way, but suppose, for example, you have any community, let's say, for example, Orlando.
Okay.
Let's suppose you have, say, about 1,000 African Americans there who are willing to pool $10,000 together. If you take 1,000 people with $10,000, that's very easily you can attain $10 million. If you just multiply it out, it comes out to $10 million. Now, that looks like a lot of money, and it is. But at least you can start a pool of money where you can begin to make investments, developing economic structures, businesses in your communities, warehouses, and those kinds of things that would employ black people. Now, $10 million won't go far in a short period of time. But like as the economy is, you can leverage that, meaning you can take that amount of money and borrow against it and make it $20 million.
Gotcha.
So what happens is, if you think about it, that's not that different than what you actually do. When you take money to the bank and you deposit it in the bank, you're actually collectively pooling your money with other people, many of whom come from different communities and use some of your money to go out and develop their economy. And all we're asking is, hey, look, if black people can actually pool $10 million, and if the government really wants to help us move into the private sector, and if we have a well enough plan laid out, then why don't the government simply match that? Okay?
Gotcha.
And it's a lot cheaper than giving people a whole lot of welfare, as they claim, and a whole lot of other things, that we can actually begin to own properties, build hotels, build supermarkets, build the other things that employ black. That will move us not just for a temporary move from poverty, but it will move us into a long-term plan of developing black enclaves.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that idea. That actually sounds pretty good. I see some. I think when it comes to the government, I see some flaws in that. Just because I can hear the cries now how wrong that is. That's nothing but some reparations and that sort of line of thinking. But I like the concept of, if we can just do it ourselves, like you said, and pooling that money together ourselves. I think that's certainly a beginning start.
Yes, that's of course. And again, what can stop us from owning franchises, even say a Starbucks or McDonald's? But we've got to at least put those stores, those entrepreneurial entities into our community so we can develop and employ our own people. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that we should do it to the exclusion of whites.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the economy the way it is, you have, for the most part, most blacks are actually working for most whites. Or not most whites, but by and large, you have 90% of our people who are employed actually working for some other white person. Okay?
Correct.
But what percentage of whites are actually employed with us?
Right.
So if we can employ them, they can employ us. You can attain that measure of equality, and at the same time, you can actually reduce the black unemployment rate significantly. And we're right where all the so-called conservatives actually want us to be.
Gotcha.
Not depending on government for everything. And you can even take a loan from the government, but pay the government back. Suppose we are able to raise $10 million, and we're able to pay the government back long-term just like GM did. Okay? But use a pool of money where they can actually begin to develop private entities in the black community and employ black people.
Well, that sounds really, really fundamental, really simplistic. Why do you think we haven't, organized ourselves enough to attempt these types of things?
Well, I think, like all groups, we have lines of demarcation, whether it's on religion. So if somebody, say, from the Nation of Islam comes in and speak about these same kinds of things, as you know, Marcus Garvey did, Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm even did, speak to our community, many of us say, well, hey, if they're not Christian, hey, I can't listen to that stuff, okay? Sometimes we have lines of demarcation along income, wealth, and these kinds of lines. Hey, look, they live down in that area, and I can't deal with those kinds of people, okay? Until we erase a lot of these lines that we actually put, artificial lines that we actually put ourselves, then it'll be difficult for us to begin to change that. So the key then is to find some charismatic figure who is articulate enough and who understands economics and can lay out a strategy and certain tactics that we can begin to move from where we are to where we want to be.
I like it. Like I said, it
seems simplistic, but every complicated story always starts with something simple.
Right. I think too. Like I said, one of the things that I've talked about with our current president, I think he's an individual that's certainly charismatic enough to pull a group of people together. I don't know that he'd be the key figure to be able to pull this off, once he's out of office or something like that. But the idea, just like I said, it just seems so simplistic. One of the things I talk about is our inability to join each other. And like you said, you start with $10 million, which isn't a lot of money, but that $10 million can be leveraged to get other monies. And certainly that $10 million can be leveraged to begin things that 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road could, change a generation, if you will.
Change the pattern in which we're going, because, I'm in my early 60s, and I can tell you the same condition that I saw 20, 30, 40 years ago, it hasn't changed that much, okay? When you look at the proportion of black people who are unemployed relative to whites, when you look at the labor force participation rate, when you look at the employment to population ratio, all these indicators on the labor force, black people have not really changed relative to whites, okay? And I think, as you said, it really has to come from within.
Right.
Because, if I flatten the tires of your car, you're not going to sit on the side of the street and wait for me to come back and repair them.
No.
You're going to try to do something on your own and repair those so you can move your car forward and deal with me later.
Correct.
Okay. And I think until black people begin to recognize that developing an economic structure within our communities is not anti-white. It is not anti-anybody. It's a pro-us. Because, I've given this idea to several people over the years, and I've talked to ministers, and they've said to me, look, that idea sounds good, but, I'm not going to push that idea forward unless we have some white people in the room. Okay?
Wow.
Can you imagine white people sitting around and say, well, we want to really build this company up, but we cannot wait until some black people come here. Okay.
Wow, that is deep.
That says a lot.
But we can do it. I just believe that it takes a will. It takes a leader who has enough charisma and who's knowledgeable about how economic structures and development work. Then I think that we can begin to change the trajectory that which black people are going. Because I just believe that death of Mike Brown in Missouri would not have happened if black people had economic power. Okay?
Gotcha.
Because there would be consequences. And I grew up in Miami, and you do not see this kind of thing happening in the Hispanic community because they have economic power. You do not kill one of those and you walk free, because economic power can determine the direction in which political power goes.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. One of the other things we were going to discuss tonight has to do with, there's a lot of stories about wage theft that is happening around the country as well. Would you go ahead and explain to people what wage theft is, sir?
Well, wage theft exists when you have various contracts by firms, for example. And because when we look at what a job, if I say to you that you have an occupation versus you having a job, most people would think, well, a job and an occupation are all the same things. Is that right?
Right.
The reality is, an occupation, is it possible that a person, let's say, for example, a professor at the university loses his job, if he goes to another university and he says, well, I'm a professor, but I don't have a job. He has an occupation, but he doesn't have a job. Okay?
Okay.
So what happens then, the job is simply a contract to perform some labor service. The difference, what we find in wage theft, is you have various labor contracts, and because you have a variety of labor contracts, then employers can exploit the weakest part of those contracts to their benefit. For example, certain types of labor contracts require the employer to pay overtime if that worker works beyond so many hours, usually about 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And that's just one type. If they don't do that, or for some reason do not, then they're actually stealing from the employer, the employee rather, okay? Because what they're actually doing is they're taking, not conforming to the law, and they're able to extract some wealth from the employee, and they actually keep that in their pocket because they're not simply abiding by the law to pay overtime. That depends on the type of contract, and usually those are what we call implicit labor contracts. When we look at what we call explicit labor contracts, usually those persons are paid a salary. Okay. And they paid a fixed amount of money to work until the job is completed. If I can have that worker work 50 hours a week as opposed to 40 hours a week, or maybe 60 hours a week, because they're actually focused on the job and not so much the hourly earnings. And so since you're actually getting paid by the contract rather than, then you can extract more time from that person, which actually lowers the per hourly rate, and that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is that if you have, say, a contract with an employee, with a worker, for example, and you can define that worker as an independent contractor, which means that the law does not cover that worker in any way.
Right.
Then you can actually extract some wealth from that worker as well by requiring that they work excessive hours, and then you can spend the contractor. They're not covered or protected by federal law, and therefore then you can actually take money from them as well. This problem is occurring. FedEx, as you know, is going through this issue at the current time.
Right, because they employ all the drivers as independent contractors.
Absolutely. Yeah. We had a situation at Snyder Trucking out in the western states where they actually work people up to 70 hours a week. And the population that get exploited the most are usually undocumented workers, because they're considered working under the table and they're not protected by federal law for the most part. So again, wage theft is a very big issue, and that is one way that many corporations are actually really increasing their profits at the expense of their workers.
Now, is there anything, I mean, obviously the worker can sue, but is there anything the worker can do, prior to getting to the point where I'm actually working 70 hours a week, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks in a row, or are they pretty much just stuck in those situations?
Well, you can always quit. That's not always a good solution for the worker, who usually have no other place to go. And at some point, the worker may realize that and decide, well, look, I'm working these excessive hours because I really have no other place to go. This is my job. I do not have another opportunity. And once a worker gets older in life, it's much more difficult for them to find other employment. Right. You can easily exploit those workers as well. Now, what a worker can do is find like-minded workers who are in a similar situation, contact an attorney and actually file a class action suit, and in some way they get some protection there, because you cannot terminate them when they're taking some labor action against you. Right. Okay. So there may be some remedy there, but the immediate solution is just quit.
It's just to quit and find a new job, huh?
Which is what they recommended, however.
Correct. And I know in the Schneider case, they did file a class action lawsuit, if I'm not mistaken, against that particular company. So
a $21 million settlement in that case, by the way.
Right. Okay.
And some workers are getting in excess of $20,000 in back pay so they benefited because, again, they filed a class action suit. That would be the primary remedy next to quitting.
And hoping they end this practice. Hopefully.
But you see, the labor market works on the fact that there's an excess of workers. When unemployment is high, that benefits firms because they don't have to raise wages to attract workers to employ. So the entire labor market works on the fact that we have an excess number of workers. So one way to actually do that is to increase immigration, increase the number of workers, that put downward pressure on wages. And what we do know is that it's a wealth transfer from workers to the firms. And this has been happening all over. And the other alternative is firms just leave the country and go to the lower wage countries.
Which is also occurring.
And they outsource.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it may be one of the factors that actually affects African Americans more. Because some workers, they may see other workers as substitute workers for blacks, and they can simply, and this is why it's imperative. It's very important that we actually start producing some businesses within our own communities to combat that.
Makes that fun sounds so much more important.
Of course.
I need to get on top of that thing. So one of the other things we said we discussed is I asked you about the minimum wage. And, of course, there's a lot of debate about increasing minimum wage rates. And I was asking you earlier, how does that have an effect? What effect does that have on the economy overall?
Well, let's suppose, for example, the last time we had a minimum wage was, let's say about $5.95 an hour. Let's just suppose that. And let's suppose that was signed back in 95 by Bill Clinton. When we look at the fact that prices are continually going up while you're keeping minimum wage constant, what has actually happened to the real value of your dollar? It drops. So if, for example, since 1995, your prices have gone up, say 20%, and the minimum wage remains at $5.95, then basically your earning power, your purchasing power has dropped 20%.
Dropped by 20%, okay.
So the objective of raising the minimum wage is to maintain real wages comparable to that before the last time you raised them.
Gotcha.
Okay? So that workers would have some amount of money that has the same purchasing power that they had at some point, and that would increase their capacity for purchasing goods. Okay. But again, as I said before, the labor market works on the fact that we have an excess supply of workers, and firms actually get to raise their prices over time. They may not raise your salary, but they actually get to raise their prices. And when you have an excess supply of labor, then you can always find somebody who can replace the worker who's saying, hey, I'm just not earning enough. And so because they're not earning enough, that worker quits, and they can hire someone else in at that same wage rate. Excess supply of labor is actually you can talk about dating back to slavery. That's how slavery worked. The fact that you have an excess supply of workers, and it kept wages down, which led to the Civil War because, again, excess supply of labor kept white wages down, and people got angry, and that was exactly what happened. Okay? So, again, it works in our modern economy as well. By keeping an excess supply of labor in a lot of different ways, you can actually keep the wage down. Now, the reason you raise minimum wage is to maintain some purchasing power that was from some previous period, okay? So, again, that helps the economy. Why? Because those persons with the extra, they feel wealthier, and they go out and spend that money. And when they spend that money, it has a multiplier effect on the economy by employing other people, and then you see the economy would tend to expand.
Gotcha. Now, does it also have an effect on businesses? Because doesn't that automatically increase? Obviously, it increases the wages that most businesses are paying. So, is there any kind of negative impact on certain businesses or businesses in general? Or do they all benefit from the increase?
You see, what happened is businesses have been profits in McDonald's and Walmart, and all of these stores have gone through the roof. I mean, the most profitable corporation in the world is what? Walmart. Yet they keep wages suppressed. What you actually have is a wealth transfer from workers to employers. And this takes a long time. They've actually, to those persons who own stock at Walmart, those persons have gotten wealthier. All they're asking for is some transfer of wealth back to the workers for at least some period of time until they can get that going up again. So it's not like the companies are going to go out of business, because they've actually captured those profits already, and they've done it for years.
Gotcha. All right. Last topic we were going to discuss was the Florida economy and what's happening with the Florida economy. This is obviously moving into the November. I'm sure a lot of people are paying attention, and this certainly will be one of the things they'll look at to determine who they want to vote for in November. But what do you think about what's happening with our Florida economy?
Well, as you know, the unemployment rate, the stated unemployment rate here in the state of Florida is 6.2%.
Yes.
Which is below the national rate of about 6.3%.
Right.
And according to Governor Scott, I think he said that we just produced, 20,000 more jobs within the state over the past couple of months.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that his numbers are correct. I'm just assuming that. But could the economy be far more robust? And if that is true, how much of that actually occurred because of his policies? You see, what happened is when he came into office, he cut a lot of public jobs.
Okay.
And so even if we get some of those jobs back, we're simply getting some of those jobs back that he may have cut. Now, presumably those jobs are in the private sector, but he cut public sector jobs. You see, what happens is when I lose my job, it affects you in some small way because I can't buy the products that you sell. And then it has, a multiplier effect a ripple effect throughout the economy.
Okay.
So, yes, the economy is expanding, and we all feel better. But really, was it because of his policies, or was it because of what Mr. Obama is actually doing to cause the economy to expand nationwide? And we see that the unemployment rate nationwide has dropped, not just in the state of Florida, but all across the country.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to thank you, Dr. Johnson, for joining us tonight. I don't know if you have anything, you have a book out that you want to plug or anything like that?
Well, not right now. I'm working on a book about econometrics, so that's kind of a technical area. So, I'm not ready to plug that yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you for joining us tonight, sir. We really do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, Dr. Johnson, professor of economics at the great Florida A&M University. Interesting topic, man. Interesting topic. You know, I love this idea that he talked about, that it sounds like he's certainly been talking about it over the years. But this idea of just pooling our own money,
Right.
and simply building from the ground up. Me and you, Jeremy, we talked about this on a number of occasions, just that basic concept. And it still amazes me with all the increase in wealth that we've seen. Not that, again, when you look at it overall, we're still pretty much exactly where we were 50 years ago.
Right.
But there's still, more of us that have a little bit more than then.
Right.
And,
So it's a good amount more of us.
it's a good amount more of us, sure. But
Young people.
But we still haven't seen that fundamental simplistic idea that just, like he said, it just seems so easy.
Yeah.
Obviously it does take some organization and you got to have some the right people behind you. But, if you're going to build any business, that's called proper planning. So if you're going to do it for real and you're going to be serious about it, then you're going to put all those things in place anyway. But the idea is just so fundamental. What do you think, Mr. King?
I think it's been tried before, like you spoke about with Marcus Garvey and a lot of other people. But we always have somebody that's around us that's holding us down and snitching. I'm not for sure the people's name, but it was a group of people that tried to start a record label, and they were going to pool their own money together because they have a bunch of money. They've already done music, and somebody in their group snitched and sold them out just so they can look good to some other companies.
To the power of people. So they can look good to the power people.
Yeah, basically. So they can look good to the government and the people who were actually in power that didn't have the same skin color that they had. And so the 4 or 5 people that was actually trying to pool their money together, when this one person went and told and was like, hey, this is what they trying to do, y'all need to put a stop to it. And that's what happened. They put a stop to it. He got that one man who told and snitched on them. He got up to, heights that were just unbearable until now he's going through this divorce. But the people that was actually trying to do it, you don't hear anything about them no more. They're actually been exiled out of society. Like you hear nothing about it. Same thing happened with Marcus Garvey. It was a spy that was in his camp that prevented him from doing the things that he was trying to do back in the day. And I think that is the reason that we're not excelling to where we want to be, because it's always a Uncle Tom, a spy, a jigaboo, whatever you want to call it. It's always somebody that's there that wants to run back to the man in and be like, hey, you know they over there trying to do this so they can try to be better than y'all. Won't y'all put a stop to that and make me look good? And that's been the problem. It's been a lot of times that we've come together and tried to do things as a people, but the powers that be don't want that to happen. As the brother said, long as the unemployment rate is as high as it is, the companies can make money. Right. But it's only black people that's not employed, and they can live with that. Now, black people, we can't live with that, but we don't.
We can live with it because we're doing it.
But we're not doing anything to make a change.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I say we can live with it.
We'll talk about it and we'll say, but we're not going to do anything to make a change. And then once we do something to make a change, it's somebody who will snitch on us and pull a leg from up under us so that we can't do it, just so they can look good.
So they can get it. Yeah.
Just so that one person can look good, they'll shut down the whole group. And that's been the problem since Marcus Garvey and today.
I'll say, and since before that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's just a matter of time. It's like it's always, and it's greed what it is. It's always they always know it's always someone in there that it's like, okay, what's going on? Let us know. We'll give you X, Y, Z. If you let us know what's going on. Forget what they talking about. I'm going to give you. I'll double it. Just let me know what they doing.
Right.
Because money is nothing to them.
Nothing. They make the money.
Right. That's
so they can give you the money.
They can give you money.
That's why
come take it at the end of the year when you file your taxes.
That's why it takes real conviction on the part of the people
and it takes sacrifice. It's funny.
Exactly.
It's funny. We was talking about this before I came to Bible study, about sacrifice, about giving in general. And you're going to give something. You got to sacrifice something. And it relates in this sense. If we're going to pull money together to do something, you're going to have to sacrifice some of the power you could attain on your own.
Right.
You're going to have to sacrifice some of the money that you could make on your own for the greater good. And because you have to understand what if this is going to happen, you're going to have to give us something now for your great-great-grandchildren to be good.
Correct.
You can't be thinking about what you're going to attain. Or possibly not even what your kids are going to attain. You got to be thinking about your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren. You have to think it along those lines, long term, and not even then, but just us as a whole. As a whole.
I agree. I'm a big fan of the idea that I'd rather have 1% of $1 billion than than to have make $1 million by myself. That's my mentality, because you think if you're starting, maybe it's a fund you start, or maybe it's a bank you start, or whatever you start. If you get a small percentage of that's it's not supposed to stay at $10 million if that's where you started. The goal is to make this thing as big as you can make it. So if in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, this thing is now worth $500 million that started from 10,
right?
And even if you got the 1% of that, I take that 1%, because that 1% is going to be a lot of money to my family over the life of the life of the existence, and however long the line lives. That 1% is going to be great. 1% of $500 million, 1% of $1 billion, 60 years down the road, or whatever the case may be. And it's that mindset it's the same way that, some of these other families, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys, that's the same mentality that they had. I mean, they didn't start having it all, but they started in a small piece, and then they just passed off that piece over down the line to one relative, to the other relative got a piece, you got a small piece, you got a small piece, and everybody's still eating off of them small pieces that started 50, 60 years ago, if not longer. You got, like you said, you got to sacrifice, man. Everybody can't be the boss. I don't need to be the boss.
Right.
And
I want to check. I don't want to be the boss.
But that's not our mentality as our people. We all want to be the boss.
Be in charge.
We all
want to tell everybody what to do.
That's it. You go to a job today at Marshall's. You got that associate that got hired after you got hired. They want to come and tell you how to fold the clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on. And that's just how we are, We don't want to see you doing better than me. I don't know why, but that's the mentality that
crabs in a bucket.
It was instilled in us, and we really have to get rid of that mentality.
Yeah,
like the brother was saying on the phone, a lot of people of African American descent, we don't trust our own African American people.
Right.
We feel like if there's no Europeans in there, I don't want to get involved.
How crazy was that?
But like he was saying, that is so true. That's how a lot of them think.
Yeah, a lot of people do think like
the
that.
NAACP was started on European money.
Yeah, like well, if it ain't no white
If
people involved,
it ain't no white people involved, I just can't trust you.
I don't think this gonna make you.
They just don't trust their own people.
Say, hold on, bro, you're a preacher. What happened to white people? What about God? Come on now.
He did say he was a preacher.
Yeah, he said he was a preacher. I'm like, hold on, what the faith in God? Faith in the white man? What's going on? No, hold on, I'm gonna say the white man. Like we talk about white people evil. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
The idea that you need a
actually
white face
said you
in
talk
the
about
room
you need a white person in the room.
before
Hold on,
you can jump onto that idea.
I know that is crazy. How about to pray about it?
Right.
Now, if God say no, then come back and tell me that.
Right.
But don't come in and talk about well, the white man.
Well, I read the text message, and he did pray on it, and he said, God said, and to the white man. That's what the text message said. I read the text myself. But it's sad, man. Like, we still have a slave mentality that's been transferred through the generations over the years, and we just haven't got out of that mentality, and we really have to shake it. And that's the only way we can be better.
That's it.
We still have that telling on each other mentality that we have to better each other versus putting down each other.
And what I do see, just to kind of put some positive out there, you know, it's not that I don't know anybody that has that forward kind of thinking. I think we all know people who have that forward kind of thinking, but it's a matter of those of us that do, you know, coming together and making it happen.
Right.
You know, can we accomplish that goal? Because yes, there's a lot of us that aren't ready, you know, if you will. There's a lot of us that aren't ready, but I think there's some of us that are at least willing to have the conversation. And if a good plan can be put together, you know, I think there's a few of us that will at least do our part. You know, and do our part to contribute. You know, whatever that level of contribution is, I think there's some of us that actually will do our part and contribute. If we could actually, you know, put a good plan together.
My thing is this. I can name multiple. You can go from Oprah to Bill Cosby and go on. And I'm sure that people like Oprah and Bill Cosby have a great mind like we do. And I'm sure that they have the resources, and I'm positive that they have the money. But you have to ask yourself, why haven't they done this yet?
But that's why I'm not even thinking on that level, because we obviously know that level is not going to make it happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
So I'm not thinking on that level. I'm thinking on my level. I'm thinking on my level, like he suggested. If you have 10,000 people with $1,000, you know, that's the level that I'm thinking on right now. You know what I'm saying? That it's that simplistic. You know, it's not going to come from anybody that's already done it. Because if it was going to happen, they would have been there. We would have been there. We wouldn't be having this discussion about trying to create it. So it's going to have to come from someone on our level, if you will, someone where we can pull together, you know, a number of people with a common goal.
I know this is a off subject, but since you said Bill Cosby, see, that's what irritates me when I hear all these little statements that he likes to make every couple of years about pulling your pants up and all that kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. You put the Cosby Show out there, and that was good. You put Different World out there, and that was very good.
And he does do a lot of charities.
But not saying he don't do charity.
There were reasons for those shows, though. Just like we have the reality shows of 2014 to show you this is how African Americans act, and this is how we want them to continue to act. Back then, they put the Cosby Show out because that's how they wanted us to act, because you know, it's all about control. That's what television is for. To control you, tell you what to eat, tell you what to wear, tell you when the new Jordan's coming out. That's what television is to do, is to control your mind. So that's why Bill ain't never did nothing. The brother name ain't even Bill.
It is
Bill. What black man you know named Bill?
407-894-6888.
And their real name is Willie.
Yeah, that's true.
My granddaddy name is Willie. I ain't never called this man Bill, and never heard nobody call this man Bill.
I would say this. Usually Bill is the abbreviation for William. Now your granddaddy name was Willie.
And
Right.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
That's that. But like I said, outside of that, that's why I say that's why
407-894-1680 is the number.
that's why it upsets me when I hear them statements every 2 or 3 years about do this and put your pants up and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, come on, we need more than, honestly, chastisement is not going to work for this generation. They've been chastised enough. They get chastised all the time, and you can't reach them like that. You need encouragement. It takes building up. I know you said in past shows, Brother King, about they need to know their history, where they come from, stuff like that. They have to be built up. You can't tear them down. We're not the military. You understand? We're not the military. We're not trying to tear them down and build them back up. We just need to build them up. They already down. That's why they act like how they act, because they already down. So now we got to build them up.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But how many want to learn the truth? A lot of people don't want to know the truth.
I mean, what I'm saying, you can't. Obviously, we're not going to be able to hit them over the head intellectually off the top, because a lot of them reject the knowledge.
Yeah,
because it's almost like, how sometimes you got to be tricked into learning stuff.
Right.
It's like you got to explain to somebody why buying Jordans ain't gonna get you nothing.
I think they should put it in a video game.
Well, yeah, but I would say that would be hard. The reason I say that, because if ain't nobody gonna die, and ain't nobody dunked on nobody,
people gonna die. People can dunk. You can choose. Man, I create an awesome game.
Don't talk about it because somebody take it.
You know what? You're right about that.
Don't talk about it.
Shut my mouth.
There you go. Come on now.
My bad.
Draw your plans up, brother.
You think I want when I'm texting somebody right now? I got a guy that make games right now.
You're right. I think what you have to do, you have to first try and find ways to relate to them, and then once they can relate to you, then you can have those types of
then you got
conversations.
it. You can't. It's like when you talking about economic development, you just can't tell them, from their level, from that street level is what I'm trying to say.
But that's why
you can't appeal to them on that level. But I know that what you're talking about, you're not talking about them. Right. But I know. But what I'm saying, as far as for this generation, you're gonna have to tell them. You can't have a conversation if you get in the right environment where how much a new pair of Jordans is going to hurt them more than it's going to help them.
Well, a lot of us don't even do book reports anymore, and I think it should start with that. I saw a special with Morgan Freeman when he was saying that he didn't want a Black History Month. Black History Month does nothing. We get a whole month. The only way you can really rid racism is, you be Tom and I be Morgan. That's what he was saying, because it's like, why we get a month? And I really think that they have to just slowly but surely be introduced to this knowledge, because with the book report, just go find out about somebody Black. Once you do that book report, you secretly learn something. You thought you were just doing the book report so you can get a little grade, get it out the way, but that knowledge it stayed in your mind. A lot of things I wouldn't know if I wouldn't have did a book report on some people. And I think that's how it starts. A book report makes you read, it makes you write, and then you used to have to stand up in front of the class and read your book report. So, that right there, just a simple book report.
We can't do that now, because then, we don't want to embarrass them. We want to lower their self-esteem.
Well, as long as Floyd Mayweather ain't nowhere. As long as we don't got no Floyd Mayweathers. As long as you can read better than Floyd Mayweather, then you good.
That brother say, I don't get paid to read. I get paid to knock people out.
That brother
read my bank account. That's
he can't even do that, bro.
I know, right?
Hold on, how many commas? That brother there.
He just knows there's a lot of zeros.
It's a lot of zeros. It's how many? Hold on. It's 8 zeros. It's supposed to be 10. That's all he knows. When you get two after the decimal.
Meanwhile, Bob Arum getting a couple of them zeros every year. He just don't know because he can't.
Luckily, he ain't got a Don King around him, boy.
Hey, nah, he got worse. Because they get him, he don't know it. Don get you, you know it. Yeah, but still can't do nothing about it.
Exactly.
Before we get out of here, man, this is just a couple of stories. Have you guys been noticing in the news? It seems like ever since the Michael Brown incentives happened, it seems like we're just being inundated with
videos everywhere. Yeah,
with videos everywhere.
Yep.
Not that we're surprised that any of this happens.
We're just getting
the light getting inundated
shined
with just videos.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll highlight today, you know how we always talk about a name matters. And be careful what your name is, because, it don't matter so much when you're 9, 10, 11, 12. But when you get 22, 28, you're looking for a job, that name typically comes up. There was a story where a gentleman, his name was Jose. So Jose was applying for jobs everywhere. He said he was doing like 70, 80, sending out 70, 80 resumes a day. Nothing. Jose said he changed his name to Joe. Jose said he had all kind of interviews like that. He said, just because he wrote Joe.
Racism is real, bro.
Exactly. And, you know, it's so fundamental because we talk about it all the time. You know, stop naming your kids Lamborghini. That ain't cute. But it's so real just to see, you know, confirmation. This is a story that was actually on the Huffington Post. A story in the Huffington Post talking about a name, which is, not, again, it's not surprising to us. But it's like, hey, man, this thing is real. You know, at some point, you know, the Lamborghini might have a problem when she get her resume read, you know, and a lot of times these days too, you have to remember computers are doing the deciphering in a lot of these places, and so if the computer doesn't even accept you, the actual HR department didn't even know you existed.
Exactly.
So you know,
you're getting programmed out. You don't even know.
Exactly.
You get programmed out.
You definitely got to be careful.
And they go say, "Well,
that
it's
stuff,
not
man.
me. It's the search engine."
Exactly.
But you programmed it.
and you have to prove that it's racist.
That you put in Old English. Now you know, and I ain't talking about no bill. I'm talking about the Old English language. So if your name don't fall in that, you got a problem.
That's why they go from William to Bill.
That's why. Well, William's Old English, but you know, that's their abbreviation anyway.
Yeah, man. But yeah, you just got to be careful, man. And that story, when I read it last night, that was my comment that I made on Twitter. I was like, well, I'm not surprised. But I like to see stories like that because it just cements what we talk about when everybody want to tell us, well, that ain't true.
Right.
Hey, man, we want to appreciate you for listening. We want to thank Dr. Johnson for joining us tonight. This is your host, Jay Real, signing off. We'll be right back, 9 p.m. next Wednesday. Real Family Talk, y'all. Real Family Talk. You can follow us on Twitter, Real Family Talk, the website, realfamilytalk.weebly.com.
WOKB, Winter Garden, Orlando.